Hello and welcome to Rock Your Block. I am your host, Tia Young, and today we are going to talk about a subject that, well, it's really tough to even think about, and that is the issue of domestic violence here in America. I know the subject is worldwide, but today I am concerned about what is happening right here in our own backyards. My guests are two dynamic women who are strong advocates for the eradication of domestic violence. Lynn Strange is a charter board member of the Kennedy Foundation, Inc., and she is active in multiple activities on a daily basis regarding domestic violence. Lynn is also a former victim and survivor of domestic violence. She is now an empowerment speaker and a catalyst, infusing lives with her personal story and victory over domestic violence. Our next guest is Leona Nicholas, who carries the honor and distinction of being Miss DMV Collegiate 2013. Ms. Nicholas will be graduating from Howard University in just a few days and plans to partner with the Kennedy Foundation to promote domestic violence, awareness, and prevention. Please welcome Lynn Strange and Leona Nicholas to Rock Your Block. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello.
Fine.
How are you?
Thank you so much
Thank
for coming.
you for having us.
And thank you for pushing Leona through all that traffic.
Oh, thank you.
We appreciate that. Well, let's get started. We're going to start with you, Lynn. Tell us about the Kennedy Foundation, Inc., who you are and whom do you serve?
The Kennedy Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I am a board member of the executive board for the Kennedy Foundation. Mm-hmm. Our mission and goal is to create awareness and provide education at large to the community regarding domestic violence. Mm-hmm. We also provide educational scholarships for higher learning. And we also have advocates who empower victims and potential victims about the prevalence of domestic violence through self-empowerment programs, through annual domestic violence summits, and just going and navigating through the community to expand the awareness of domestic violence, which is really a silent epidemic.
Right. Well, now, who are some of your major sponsors that work with you to help you?
We are very grateful to have our sponsorship through the Verizon Foundation and Macy's have been our greatest and biggest sponsors.
Good. That's
yes,
great.
Excellent.
That's wonderful. Well, Leona, how has your experience with the Kennedy Foundation .net affected your life?
Oh, it affected my life in a really big way. Last summer, around this time, I competed in a scholarship pageant, the Miss Collegiate DMV Scholarship Pageant 2013, and I took home the first place title as Miss Collegiate DMV, wow. And I won a $15,000 scholarship, renewable scholarship to Howard University. I'm a senior, so I only got it for this year, but it really helped me out because I was in a financial jam. So that really helped me out. And just this past year, going to different events, public speaking, reaching out to my peers on campus, it's really helped me blossom because I'm more of an introvert.
Well, so, you never could tell.
I've grown a lot over the past year.
Yes.
With, winning this title and the different opportunities that were afforded to me.
Well, was there something I know about the $15,000, but was there also a potential of an additional $60,000?
Well, yes.
How did that work?
Well, there's 4 prizes. There were 4 prizes, but this coming year there will be 8 prizes. 4 for females and 4 for men is the King Collegiate DMV Scholarship Pageant. And the grand prize for the King Collegiate and for Miss Collegiate DMV will be the $15,000, and it's renewable every year for 4 years, until you finish. And the second prize for each, for the men and women, is $12,000. Third is $10,000, and the fourth is $5,000, and they're all renewable every year. So
that's fantastic. So Howard, go Bisons!
Right.
Is a part of that, right? Well, you're saying something that I wasn't aware of, and that's that you have a brother part of the system, the Kings. I didn't know that.
It's new for this year. Last year it was all females.
Okay.
So then now they're giving even more scholarships away by bringing in the guys.
Right. So the domestic violence does not only just affect women.
That is true.
Men and boys as well on that end. Lynn, going back to you, I know that you've had quite a journey going from being a victim and surviving,
Yes.
and moving on to be a charter member of the Kennedy Foundation. Can you share some of your testimony with us?
Sure. I was in a very volatile domestic violence marriage. The marriage encompassed hitting, beating, kicking, pregnant beating, dragged out of a car beating, dragged on the highway beating, just malicious verbal abuse, mental abuse, false imprisonment, being held in the home against my will. And the most memorable, and I hate to say it in that sense, but it's the realistic part of it, was a Friday. My husband said he was going to kill me when he returned back home on that Sunday. And something about those words were more penetrating than all the other times of abuse and physical abuse. And actually, I prayed, my faith, had great faith in God. I said, Lord, if you allow me to get out this time, I won't return. And I had small children at the time that were 3 months old, 15 months and 4 years old. Yeah. He had cut all the phone cords, took the keys to the car, beat my eyes, bust my lip. And by that Sunday, of that same Sunday, he was murdered. And so that was my way out of this volatile type of marriage. It went on for about 10 years. I dated him early, maybe as early as 18 or 19 years old. Thought that I was in love. This was a form of love. Started out with, on our first date, him punching me in the thigh.
The first date?
First date.
I was going to ask you, were there any signs? Because sometimes women
Plenty
say
of
there were no
signs,
signs.
but I didn't recognize I was in the cycle of domestic violence. I was at that time very low self-esteem, looking for love and acceptance. And so when he said he was sorry and apologetic, he just wanted to see how tough I was, I believed that. Little did I know that that was the beginning to what was one of the most horrific periods of my life. Like I said, it was never really a dull moment in that marriage. And so I thank God for deliverance. So from that point on, I'd always been ambitious and endeavored to go out and let other women know who they are, who they belong to, that they don't need to allow themselves to live in such a volatile relationship.
Wow, and you were in that for 10 years?
I actually, dating and marriage was a combination of about 10 years.
Wow.
Yes.
That's really something. Well, you know, some of our viewers may not know what constitutes a domestic violent act. You know, I can remember back when I grew up in Tennessee, and I can remember hearing men say that, you know, a man has to be strong in his household, and, you know, to occasional slap to a woman or to a child is okay. They didn't look at that as domestic violence.
That's true.
So can you guys talk a little bit about what really is domestic violence? What are some of the acts that constitute that? You've told us some of them, but I think
it's
more.
profound to know that the laws have changed, and so now we can classify it. Back then, in the period in which you're speaking, it would seem to be the norm. Now we're speaking of abuse being coercive, forceful, kicking, punching, slapping. Starts out demeaning words, verbal abuse,
Psychological.
The psychological aspect. So anything with strangulation is now one of the bigger signs and effects of domestic violence. Acts, I would say, choking, and even to the point of murder. And so if anyone begins, such as my case, where the punching was on the leg, just to say, he stated, I want to see how tough you are, that's the beginning signs of domestic violence.
Right. And Leona, of course, you're graduating soon, but
Yes.
I mean, you've been in high school and college.
Definitely.
What kind of situations did you experience? I know that you didn't experience domestic violence yourself personally, but you were there to look and see. I mean, what are the young ladies doing this?
I've seen, while I was in high school, I remember I was in the hallway and it was during changing periods, and one guy, he had a girl in a corner and he was choking her up. He was choking her. And she's like, stop. She was laughing. And then he was like, oh, I was just playing with you. And then they just went on their merry way. So he's choking her, but once he said that he was playing, she just accepted it because she liked him, because he was popular.
Right.
You know? So it could be the same thing, but these kids are young and they don't really realize.
Right.
And punching, pinching.
Right.
Just, you know, pinching them.
Exactly.
And play is, you know,
but they
seemingly play.
Right. They make it seem like they're playing. So they just like, oh, he likes me, you know. Little kids, little boys on the yard, they may push you because, you know, so they think it's the same thing. But it's
not.
It's not.
Well, let's fast forward to college.
Right.
Have the girls matured any, or Is it still that?
I think it's more about low self-esteem because they
Really?
could be mature in other aspects of their life. They could, have their jobs, have their cars, they're getting, straight A's in their scholarships and whatever, but they may still have like some insecurities when it comes to relationships
comes
and
to
men.
relationships, yes.
Or even if it's like a same-sex relationship,
That's
just
true.
insecurity amongst themselves. So I don't really think it's about them not really being mature. It's about being mature in that aspect of their life.
So the men that are perpetrating these crimes, would you ladies say that this is a form of mental illness, or is it just pure downright mean?
I believe it could be a combination. I believe that statistics prove from the Department of Justice that generational abuse, one of the strongest risk factors for generational abuse, is oftentimes where it's mimicked in the home from the father to the mother. And so if you have alcoholism, drug addiction, depression, may be symptomatic to want to create those feelings of low self-worth, low self-esteem. So sometimes your batters are coming out of that, anger. So it could be some type of connection. I wouldn't say it's the soul connection, but it could be very relative, and just we haven't taken maybe a broader spectrum of study just to see the connection.
Do you agree?
I agree.
You agree with that? That's good. Well, I know I read a statistic, and I don't know if it's true or not. You can tell me if it is or not. That about 1.3 million of domestic violence incidents occur against women. Is this an accurate account? 1.3 million?
I believe so, and I believe it's greater. I believe it's the prevalence of domestic violence is really, and that could be just a minimized number now because sometimes it goes unreported, but for that which is reported, I believe it's even higher.
Well, is there one type of violent act that seems more prevalent than others? Like you mentioned earlier, beating, kicking. Does it?
I think it's
kind of
all
start at
conclusive.
verbal? Oh, okay.
I think it's all conclusive. I mean, it just varies from the batterer to the victim. You could have a combination of all. You could just have one, the choking, where some batterers are fixated on having this choking ability or this. Some, for my example, my husband was punching and kicking, so punching seemed to be more of his area of abuse to want to inflict. So it just really depends.
Wow, that's something. Well, ladies, we're going to take a short station break, but we'll be right back after these announcements. So don't touch that dial.
Hey, we tried our.
Don't tell me to calm down. I hate that.
Stop acting like an animal. You're in public.
I will knock you into next week.
Stop it.
No, I'm not gonna stop it. That's it. We are leaving
like an
right
animal.
now. We are leaving right now. Get up. Stand up. I said we're leaving.
Welcome back. You're watching Rock Your Block with our special guest, Miss Lynn Strange, a charter board member of the Kennedy Foundation, Inc., and Leona Nicholas, Miss DMV Collegiate 2013. Next question, Leona, I want to ask you, what has been the most fascinating experience as Miss DMVC 2013?
Okay. My most fascinating experience as Miss Collegiate DMV 2013, I would say, it's not really one event. I would say just reaching out to students, my peers, and incoming high schoolers, and even middle schoolers. They see me and they ask me, how did you get where you got? I want to be in a pageant, and I never thought I could be in a pageant, And then they see that I don't have any hair. It shocks them.
So what does that got to do with not having hair? You do have hair.
Well, I do have
Very
hair, but my
beautiful
hair, thank you. But the fact that I have like a shortcut, I think a lot of times, and even myself, before I was in the pageant, I thought, a pageant queen had like, long Beyonce hair, something like that. So you kind of have like this image of what it should be. And my image, it allows them to believe that, it doesn't matter who they are or how they look. They are beautiful, they are smart, they are accomplished, and they can do whatever they want. And I feel like, reaching out to these students and them giving their feedback to me, that has been the best part, Just knowing that, I'm encouraging, my peers and even girls younger than me to, just
Right.
reach for their dreams and their goals.
So going back to what you both said earlier, your self-image has a lot to do sometimes with what people will expect
Absolutely.
and accept.
And accept.
And accept. Leona, tell us about the Kennedy Foundation's mission. What has that mission meant to you?
Their mission is to promote domestic violence awareness and prevention, and I feel like that's very important because everyone knows someone, even if they weren't a victim of domestic violence, they may know someone if it's their classmate or their coworker, family member, or it could even be themselves and they may not want to admit to it or reach out to someone. I think it's very important because it affects all of us, whether it's you as an individual or it's just your neighbor, it still affects the community. So I think it's a very important mission to have, and I really appreciate it. So.
And I know that you have a platform of HPV awareness.
Yes, HPV and cervical cancer awareness.
Right, so can you talk about that a little bit and how is that going to blend or marry with the Kennedy Foundation's mission?
Well, I chose HPV and cervical cancer awareness as my platform for the pageant because it is a sexually transmitted disease that can lead to cervical cancer in women, but it's not, I don't believe, spoken about as much. And it's important, you can die from cervical cancer.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And 70% of men and women will contact HPV in their lives, and they may not even know it. They can have it in their system and it can go away, but sometimes that HPV, the strain that they have, the specific strain that the woman can have, it can turn to cervical cancer. And you can't trace where you got the HPV from. So it's kind of scary to know that, you're with this person and you think that everything is good, but now you have HPV and it could turn to cervical cancer. So I feel that is very important to, get that out there, have, if you want to get vaccinated, everyone doesn't believe in getting shots and vaccinated, but at least, have that awareness so that when you go to the doctor and you get tested for HIV and, chlamydia and all those other type of things, ask for HPV as well. So that's just something that I feel is important, especially for women.
So it sounds like it could be a silent killer.
Yeah, it can. There's a chance, and even if it's a 1% chance of you getting it, that's 1% too much for me.
Right. I agree.
So yeah.
Well, we're going to go back to Lynn now. Lynn, you consider yourself to be a living testimony. Would you tell our viewers, what does that mean to you? A living testimony, and a living testimony to what?
I believe living testimony is reclaiming yourself, reclaiming your power back of who you are, your identity, and being able to breathe the essence of who you are. Through domestic violence, a lot of times you lose yourself through the self-control of the other individual. Through the control of the other individual. Being in a domestic violence relationship is more or less like in an addictive lifestyle because you are being taught to believe, to live in this constant fear that you're nothing, you're never going to be anybody. For a lot of women, the batterer is the provider economically, so they believe this is their only source of provision and income. And the longer you stay, the more the lies and the demeaning words become real to you. And so for me, coming out of that domestic violence marriage through the death of my husband and reclaiming my faith, I learned a lot about who I am in God, my value, my purpose. So I want to be able to inspire other women that if you have been or you are, you're still somebody special, you're still valuable, and you can live again and fulfill your purpose and destiny and breathe the inspiration God has given you. There's something unique about each of us. Each of us comes with gifts and talents, and not allowing that relationship with domestic violence to define who you are. You are more than what you've been told, what has been done to your physical body, even your mindset, and through healing and through getting counseling, reviving and refreshing yourself to come back to who you are and then living out who you are in this earth.
Well, that brings me to the next question is that you have established a ministry called Smile.
Yes.
Tell us about that. I love that, Smile.
Smile stands for strengthening, motivating, inspiring lives to excellence. So more or less what I do a lot of public speaking about domestic violence, sharing my testimony, going back and empowering women on who they are and knowing themselves and believing in themselves and having the courage to go out and be who they are freely. Because like I said, in the domestic violence marriage, a lot of times I had to be silent. I couldn't speak. He said, oh, either you're ugly or nobody want to hear what you have to say. Now I'm free to go back and regain my smile and smile in the world and just be who I am. So it's an empowerment ministry to women. And I talk about the issue of domestic violence. I share my story and go back and infuse lives with inspiration to be who they are.
That's fantastic.
Yes, thank
Now,
you.
Leona, what would you say to the young men and women, our viewers out there, about the Kennedy Center? I mean, is it something that they can do through the Kennedy Center that would make them become more aware, or give them an opportunity to be actively involved?
Well, yeah, definitely. The scholarship pageant, that's the best way, I believe, for you to become involved with the Kennedy Foundation. Howard students, they can apply for this coming fall, 2014. We have the 8 prizes of the 15,000, the 12, the 10, and the 5,000. And if they win the title, they're going to be doing community service activities, public speaking, panel discussions, and that's a great way to, meet their peers, and they're going to get money for school, so that's a blessing. Also, there's the Girls Wear Pink program for the younger girls, 13
To, I believe 14 to 21.
14 to 21.
Are they going to do that again this year?
Yes.
Oh, God, talk about that. 'Cause
And last year,
Stephanie was here last year.
Last year, their sponsor was Macy's for it. So I don't know if you want to talk more about it.
Sure. What the Girls World Pink 2014 is going to be to an underserved population or underserved community in District Heights, Maryland. And so the component of the Girls World Pink is domestic violence awareness. They'll be able to hear from empowerment speakers and modeling. And so you're infusing the self-esteem, beauty, and we actually at the end of the Girls World Pink last year, we ended the series with a modeling show. So they're able to strut down and wear their confidence, everything they've learned and embodied within themselves at that time. Yes, it is really a phenomenal program and workshop for these young ladies.
And what is the website where our viewers can to take a look at that?
www.kennedyfoundation.net.
Okay.
Please go on and learn more about
all the information is there for the scholarships, the Girls Wear Pink, domestic violence. Everything is on that one page.
Do you have other programs that you can offer to domestic violence victims that we haven't talked about?
Well, currently also in Compass with the Kennedy Foundation, we do have referral information, resources in the community. We are also partnering with the Girls Wear Pink this year with the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. So a lot of our resources and referral is on the website as well. And then also by hosting our annual Domestic Violence Summits, that is another opportunity in the community to bring other partner organizations with services that they provide and partnering with the Kennedy Foundation.
Okay, good. The other question I wanted to ask is there domestic violence also going on in same gender relationships?
Absolutely.
Because nobody really talks about that. And so I was wondering, is that a part of it too?
Yes, actually.
Really? Is there a difference in the prevalence, or is the same reasoning, rationale?
It's the same rationale. It's
is?
basically the
Okay.
same. Yes,
Okay.
because the cycle of domestic violence is across the border: gender, social class, race, and some of the issues that center behind what we hear. The cause or the creation of the domestic violence relationship is not just limited to your heterosexual relationship. So it's with the same-sex relationships.
Okay,
well.
because I have heard some people say things like, domestic violence occurs more in one race as compared to another race. Have you found any statistics to support that?
Sometimes there are. You may see a rise maybe in your underserved populations where there is a higher classification, maybe African Americans or Hispanic population, because of the social economic issue. And you also have the alcoholism, the community issues that are there that also limited the resources maybe to deal with the alcoholism. So a lot of the resources are not as prevalent sometimes in your underserved communities.
Right.
Not to say that should be the reasoning or the cause, but you do see it maybe more so among the Hispanic population, the African American population, depending on location.
Right. Well, we have a little less than a couple of minutes, and I want to give each of you about 30 seconds to sum up what you would want to tell the viewers. And we're going to start with Leona.
Well, I want to tell the viewers, especially the students, to just excel and reach for the stars
Right.
and achieve their goals and their dreams, no matter what. So that's what I would say.
I like that.
All right.
Good. That's good.
And I would like to say to anyone who is experiencing domestic violence, please contact your local health departments or agencies. Get help. You are more valuable than allowing someone to beat on you, demean who you are, demean your value. And for those who have come out, go out and infuse lives. Tell your story, share your story. Don't be ashamed. Because there is somebody that needs to know and to experience your courage and to be able to know what you've been through and how you've come out. So live your life to the fullest.
To the fullest. I like that. That's good advice. I could
Yes.
not have said it better.
Thank you.
Lynn and Leona, we are nearly out of time, so thank you so much for
Thank
clearly
you.
Thank you.
defining what domestic violence is, who it affects, and some solutions and encouragement for victims of this heinous crime to help them move forward with their lives. We invite you to come back and educate us more on domestic violence here in America. I hope that this segment has been of interest to our audience, and we thank you so much for watching Rock Your Block. See you next week. Bye-bye.